So first of all, I'm just going to establish something in the sky, a bit of a warm colour. It's an Australian grey, Art Spectrum Australian grey, this one. I'm going to start with the warmth first, and then I will cool it down or go more blue with a blue-grey. That colour is going to help just to keep the sky warm and attractive. Now I'm going to go over the top of that with a grey. That's a little bit too dark, but if I start there I can always lighten it off. It needs to be dark enough to be able to see the wave and the froth in front. However, I don't want it that dark. So now I will lighten that back with a little bit of pale blue. Just lighten it off. Using the broad side of the pastel. And now we're in about the right ballpark for the right value. Just blending it in very, very rapidly. Okay, and there's a bit of a sky to support the rest of what is to come. Now I'm going to move my way forward and come in with some background sea. It's got to be, again, it's not as dark as what is in the foreground. The wave itself is the darkest area, and this background area is not quite as dark in value as the foreground wave. So I'm just getting a little bit of a mauvey grey. Amongst that I'm going to change it to a slightly blue colour. The purple or the mauve grey just helps to create the illusion of distance. And then I'm going to put just a tiny bit of green in there as well. It has to be the right kind of green, a bluey grey green. And then amongst that I'll skip in some of the Australian grey that I've used above. Now I do need to be careful to keep my horizon line straight. There's nothing worse than a crooked horizon line. I just want to mush that together a little bit. And I need a piece of paper towel to keep my hand clean. Alright, and that's probably enough information for back in there. I can get just a little bit lighter in here so that we can see where that wave's coming through into. Tidy up the horizon line. Okay, now working my way forward, I'm going to go darker and heavier. How dark will it be? Probably as dark as I can push it. I think I'll go for the violet first, a nice dark violet. Whilst the wave itself is more green, I'm going to start with some violety kind of colours in underneath, then pop the green in over the top. So I'm just getting in the action of the wave. Before I get too far, I think I'll just put a bit of lemony yellow into that translucent area. That will help the subsequent layer of colours to remain translucent as well. Just a bit. Okay, like that. Which looks outrageous, I know, but it will work. Go back to my darks. Basically I'm doing a little bit of underpainting, setting the scene for what is to come. I call my type of painting Chinese cooking. You've got to get all the ingredients chopped up and in place, and then you pull it all together. But all of that groundwork needs to be done first. There's a bit of darkness that comes in down here. And look absolutely revolting for a while, but it won't stay like that, and I certainly hope it doesn't remain like that. Before I go any further, I'm going to just underpaint some of the colour into the rocks. Now you'll notice I've been a little bit more economical with my rocks than what is in the photograph. I don't think those types of rocks will actually help my composition all that much, and I put a rock in over this side as well to balance the composition. So this is where you use the photo doesn't use you. You're not a photocopier, but you use the photo. Okay, now I'm going to go into the green, and I'm going in with quite a dark green. It's the Sennelier 179, and just push it around over that violet. And that violet was originally a Australian art spectrum Flinders Red Violet, the darkest value thereof. For those who like to know exactly what colours I'm using, I don't know them all, but some of these ones that are really familiar to me, I certainly will remember their numbers, the ones that I use a lot of. This can also go into starting to establish the dark areas on the rock. Different action in the rock. It's a lot stronger, a lot more angular than what I use in the wave. Now I might just put a little smattering of that dark through there as well. A little bit more in here, a bit more over the back, a wee bit into the wave itself, and a bit into there. Okay, now I'm going to move forward and go with a little bit brighter, some really strong brights into what will be the more translucent area. Now again, it's not going to stay like that, and I can see people having conniptions and thinking, oh, it's going to make a mess, and hopefully it won't. But that's just going to keep everything nice and bright and lively. I can pull some of that through into there as well. That's enough of that one. Now I'm going to come back with the greeny grey. Perhaps even a lighter greeny grey. No, that one's a bit too greyed off, so I won't go there yet. Maybe just some blue in over the top of that, just to get it back into a more turquoisey kind of colour. Maybe some cerulean blue. That's what is missing. That's better. Just glaze it through, setting the scene. In down in here to establish what will be a whole heap of foam down there. Some of the violet grey can also go in over that. It can come in over here to keep it all a little bit more subdued so it's talking with what's up the back. I will be doing blending with my hand to pull it together. So I'm being fairly broad with my stroke. There's definitely a purplish area in over here, over the back of the rock there. Some of that can now just go up into the foam apron, into here. And I think I can start pulling over from the back now. Looks very colourful, but it won't stay like that. Again, Chinese cooking, setting the scene. Alright, now I definitely need to push it back into its green. And this is, again, a little art spectrum one, a phthalo green, very, very useful in the seascapes. Not as dark as the original Sennelier 179, obviously. And just dragging it over what's there, up into the space in here. Starting to cut out the apron into this area here. I'm still mucking around in the, still quite dark, so still mucking around in the dark. We've got this back of the foam. I'm going to actually open it up a bit more at the back there, just for interest's sake. Some of this can be then dragged into the rock as well, over into this area. And I'd like to see some of the cerulean blue through that as well. Okay, now just a bit more. I need to push it a bit more into the right colour range. Let me see if I can find the colour that's going to do it for me. And perhaps this one will do it. I know that it is a, it's a Giraud, and because I can feel it. But I don't know what number it is. It's just a greeny grey kind of colour, which is basically the colour that is apparent up here in front of me. Now, why didn't I go there first? Well, just because it's more interesting sneaking up on it, and I think in the end it just makes it more visually exciting to have all these other colours doing their work underneath. Can go into this area here, into here. And once I get a bit more violet and all the whites and the creams and the lights on, this will make sense. All of the underpainting will make sense. Hills and valleys, basically what we're doing. Okay, now I've got to find something that will start to pull that together. I'm going to start at the background here, and this nice little grey, soft grey will just start to develop the hills and valleys and troughs. Finding my way through. It also ties it together with what's behind. I'm just going to blend all of that stuff underneath so that then I can get in all of the foam trails. So keeping your hand clean, pulling, pulling, pulling in the direction that the wave is sitting. Goes this way here, pulls back there like that. So I've now set the scene. Now if you're going to do blending, you've got to have enough pastel down to be able to do it, otherwise it really hurts your hand. Especially on this aggressively sanded Fisher 400 paper. Okay, I'm going to put some of the warmth of the sky into the froth and bubble now. But will have to be, it's about the same value as some of the stuff in the sky. So get that in down in this area here, amongst the rocks. I'll come back and restate the rocks in a minute. Again, setting the scene for what is to come. Now, is this going to be light now? I'm just testing it. First of all, I might, over the back, just test my lightest light on the ridge of the back of the wave. I think that's going to be light enough. So the light's just hitting here and there along the back of the wave. Most of this wave is in shadow. Just dragging down into the trough. That brings that background colour through, and I'm cutting the front area out by using a lighter value behind. Might just put a bit more of darkness just in front here so I can separate those two waves, a little bit of darkness in here. Again, just to get the water movement. Okay, now just find a rhythm to start separating these little areas. Again, I'm still going to go lighter than this, but just for the time being, just using this blue-grey to find my way down into the wave itself, and just to put on the secondary little lights. And I think that works nicely. don't like what I've done up here, so make sure that your hand is clean before going up there. That's a bit too bright. Alright. Still working with this, this nice soft grey. Because after all, we don't want it too bright. I don't want it too bright in this area because it's still in shadow. You do have to kind of concentrate when doing these things because your hand ends up doing the same sort of pattern, and before you know it, it all looks very boring. Now, coming in, connecting that through a bit more. Might even grab a bit of here and put it in there. Getting that sort of spray, salty kind of look. Soften off that bit too harsh there. And that colour certainly serves a purpose for just tying it all down. You can just drag it in through here. And got some little dragging up bits there. Oops, I made them too steep, so you don't want a tsunami coming. You don't want it too upright, those marks. So if those marks are too straight up and down, it looks like there's this great wall of water just approaching at speed. Tidy up back here. And find my way using broad marks, thin marks, varied marks, finding little foam holes. Trying to describe the rhythm of the wave itself. Press them in, because if they float on, they need to be part of, they are floating on top, but they need to be integrated in. You don't want them just to be squiggly lines and look like squiggly lines. You want them to be believable as patterns of foam. And you can see how all of the underneath work now is serving its purposes. I haven't got to this yet, but I will have to attend to that very shortly, but not quite yet. Just quieten down some of those colours now. Have a little look. Bit messy here, so I might just chop it up a bit. With the colours that I've already used. Just to draw the eye back into where I want it to go, not sort of stuck out there. Better. Okay, now I think I'll have to attend now to the wave itself. Or to the froth anyway. I come further forward, I might also just change the temperature here and there of some of those little foam drags. Just for interest and variety. Might even put some little holes in here, again for interest and variety. I think that's a lot more interesting than just that shiny bit, so might do a bit more. Got to be careful once you start on, I'm going to do a bit more, you end up losing the whole lot and having too many spots and dots. But I certainly think that that works. This one needs to, let's just take it up into that area there. Bit too stripy. Okay, liking what's happening there now. Now, the apron itself have to just connect it in a little bit. Now it is whiter obviously than the sea itself, but you've got to get some of the sea elements in there, into the froth and bubble and stuff. Lovely translucent area. I think that's a wee bit bright. As is that. Some of the greys, some of the purple has to go in as well. So all of this has to just be established. So then we can get the lights on, or then I can get the lights on top. So I'll mush it in, because foam or froth and bubble is soft and diffused. It's not just little spots here and there. I'm not worried about that mess up in the sky. Setting the scene. Okay, now I need to come along and work out the colouring. Will it be a warm? I think it needs to be a warm. I think that's quite nice. That's a lighter version of the Australian grey than I was using before. So now I can find little bits and pieces. Coming along the back. Soft stroke though. It has to be diffused. You don't want it just a hard mark. Just a bit of it can travel down into there. Tidy that up a bit. Softening. maybe just getting some light. No, I think it needs to be dark actually. That's better, there's a nice open happening. Just using the side of the pastel to find our way through into the base of the wave, of the foam apron. Come back and get some more darks in around under the edge. I think I need to connect it through a bit more, looking a bit disjointed. And maybe even connect it through further down. And remembering that we're going to get this lovely light area here, which will then talk to the stuff that is above. So I've got to remind myself of that. A few more little foam holes. Just to tie it down. Deepen and darken. Lighter area just through here. And I think in this case, I think for the sake of my painting, I need to just connect some of these foam pulls from that side through. Okay, now I think we're almost there in that area. I can now come back and have a look at the rocks themselves. Okay, nice strong structure. Got to consider the light is coming this way. And they have to be different from the sea colours, but they have to incorporate some of the sea colours in, because they're wearing the wetness of the waves then just use some charcoal. Charcoal's a great blending stick. It ties all the colours together for you. I'm certainly not wanting to do blending in the rocks, not with my hand anyway, and so I'll use the willow charcoal just to tie everything. Might put a bit more green in there rather than that purple. The purple's a little bit distracting. Needs some of it, but not as much apparent in as I had. Now, need to think a bit harder on this rock shape here too. The green in with it, and I'm going to chop that rock up a bit. You could get a little brush, just lift bits back. If you've got sort of carried away, just lift it back a bit and then come in with your colours behind and find your shapes again. Perhaps change the direction in which I was applying that pastel. And I think changing some of that shape. Sometimes you've just got to resolve issues as your painting takes shape. It takes on a life of its own, so you've got to listen to that painting and what it's telling you that it needs. It says, I need a bit of green here or a bit of balance and of colour or value, well then you put it in, regardless of what the photo's got. Now I might just also strengthen just the edges here and there by coming back with that light grey. There would be foam dribbles of water dribbles coming through and over. Don't want too much though. Little spills coming in amongst the rocks, and again I'm using this lovely grey kind of colour. I might just put a little foam hole here and there, make little footprints through the foam. Okay, we're pretty close now, just to be able to come in and get this life down in this area here. And just establish with some underpainting. Okay, now we're coming in with the lovely light, and I want to be able to find my way. This is my lead-in area here. This where I'm working now is my lead-in. So I want to be able to come, this will stay a little bit darker, and this will be the area where I find my way through into my picture plane by the foam holes. go slightly into the Australian grey as opposed to the light. That can be the lightest light in this area. Warm up a bit of this. A bit too cool, isn't it? Almost there. Soften that off. And I think just find a few touches of light. A bit too strong. Step back and have a good look. If anything, there's a bit of a hole there. I think I'll close that one up. I think for the sake of the exercise, that's just about done, apart from a signature. Let's get rid of some of these chunks of pastel that are sitting up above everything. And time to consider if it needs anything else. I don't think so. What colour shall I sign it in? Maybe a purpley colour. Either a green colour in this corner or a purpley colour here. That may be a green colour over here. And I'll take all the rubbish off so we can see it. there we have a wave.